Congratulations, you reached level 70. Now what? In today's video, I'll be talking about what's next and the steps you can take to accelerate your endgame. In my previous video series, I have an entire guide on preparing for speed leveling and why it is the most efficient to prioritize the main quest. And this is also evident in this video because I'm level 69, but I have unlocked a ton of endgame content. And I'll be talking about this endgame content in this video. Currently on the beta, when you finish the campaign, you unlock Adventure Mode, which gives you access to these max level quests, and you can unlock this prior to level 70. I'm 69 here, it also works at 68 if you play without War Mode, etc. There is currently a bug where when you finish this Adventure Mode, it's gonna tell you to go here in the raid entrance to turn in a quest called Renown of the Isles, and you don't actually turn it in here, you turn it in at Alexstrasza, here at the Seat of the Aspects in the main city at the top. She will basically tell you to go to Terrazal, and I'll just go there, which is like the Dragon Isle Emissary NPC that gives you a couple of important quests. It's basically the max level part of the campaign. It's this guy. He or she gives you the Aiding the Accord quest, which is a weekly quest that I'll talk about later, and this Open Orientation quest, as well as this Learning Ingenuity quest. This Learning Ingenuity is a quest chain that gives you your first spark of ingenuity, which is a time-gated resource that will be used for the best item crafting later on. So you do want to complete this quite quickly. In addition to that, you get this Open Orientation quest that tells you to do the orientation in each of the 4 key renown factions. One important thing is I'll show a video of each of these orientation quests on the top right, but the key thing is you can choose to talk to those NPCs while you're leveling. So here in Iskara, if you talk to the equipment supplier, recipe supplier, mount supplier, and Drake Scholar, this will already in the background autocomplete, so you don't have to do that when you reach max level. So if you have a look at those videos and while you're leveling you want to talk to those guys, you can do to get that auto-completed so you don't have to fly there. But honestly, flying there with dragon riding, it's pretty quick, right? I haven't done that here just so that it could show you the quests and kind of where they are in each particular zone. Another important thing to say is that even before 70, once you complete the campaign, you unlock these additional like hubs that are the end game hubs. So first one is this Allegiance to One, where you pledge allegiance to either Sabellion or Rathion in the Waking Shore, giving you access to new daily quests there in that area. You can also complete this Dragonbane Keep scenario, which gives pretty good weekly gated rewards, but Blizzard posted that this scenario is probably unavailable until after the first reset. But it could also be that it's available, but you don't get the epic reward, but you get like other rewards from doing that scenario. So I would definitely check that out prior to the reset if you can. It's not the first time that Blizzard said something wouldn't be available and then messed up. And like in BFA, you could do the weekly island quests for like a big chunk of AP before other people if you did that prior to the reset and things like that. So it's definitely possible. In the Waking Shores, you also have access to this Dragon Scale base camp. Again, just daily hub with more quests. In the Onaran Plains, you have like a daily hub which will have a quest like Call to the Plains that moves around. Again, it's like 3-4 dailies that give you rep. And in the Azure Span, you have community feasts that are available. As well as Grand Hunts that you can do here. Now the Grand Hunt might also again be locked until after the first reset, and since Blizzard posted about this, that seems likely, but again, doesn't hurt to check just in case. Now I've mainly been talking about all of these different daily quests and reputation, etc. But honestly, none of that is required for endgame. They're nice for mainly, I would say, profession items, and then there's a ton of vanity items like transmog items, mounts, etc. One of the nice things is that there's also a type of alt catch-up that at like the first, at level 10 renown, your alts get like 100% reputation gain, etc. So that's quite cool. But if we're talking about just gearing ASAP, you don't need to do all of this reputation stuff. Like, you still want to do the aforementioned Spark of Ingenuity, because that's just a very easy way to get a high item level piece before the raids open. And then after this, what I would suggest is, if you can make a Mythic 0 premade, you simply make the group of under-geared people. Like 310 is fine to do these dungeons. I've done that in past expansions, I've done that now on the beta, it's totally fine. You just walk to the dungeon entrance and then walk in to the dungeon on M0 and you can get 372 gear. Now obviously if you full pug that, it can be a bit of a shit show where people start whining, etc. But if you have like 4 people you trust, just go with them. It's the quickest way to get geared. Importantly, those M0 dungeons are definitely not going to be available before the first weekly reset. So Tuesday for US, Wednesday for EU. So you don't have to like super rush to get this done because you can't really get it done before the reset. But there's a ton of stuff that you can do before the reset. So I'll talk about some of this next. But yeah, the M0 dungeons, they're much more efficient than like first doing normal, then heroic, then M0. Like just go straight to M0 if you can. Now, if you can't make a pre-made, you kind of want to gear up as soon as possible to achieve the minimum item level for heroic. On the beta, the UI is currently bugged, so it doesn't actually show what the minimum item level is. It just says not high enough, but this will likely be 330, I think. Now, to achieve eye level 330, so you can see, like, I'm 312 in my bags. I have a lot of epic gear or mythic gear from the past expansion and some high level blue gear. Or like if you're lucky, you get these epic upgrades during your level 69 leveling. And then you can get like 332 and stuff. However, to achieve this eye level 330, I have a couple of tips. The first one is just professions. There is, for each profession, some very cheap gear that is basically base item level 330. People will try to sell that for a lot, but it really does not require a lot of resource. So either level your own profession or get a friend to make it, because like those items are super cheap. Don't spend like hundreds of thousands of gold on those items. Don't do it. And then like after one day even, there will be a ton of these on the auction house. You can also use these optional training matrices that you can kind of find in treasures and stuff, but also from world quests, as you can see here, and they allow you to upgrade the level of crafted gear. Again, really nice to get this quick, easy to get piece of gear. Now, there are also things like weekly profession quests and things like that, but again, they said these wouldn't be available until after the first reset. But one important thing to say is you can't actually see these quests if you haven't done the prerequisite quests. And the prerequisite quests start when you first encounter the Artisan Consortium. And that's here in the Ruby Life Pools. Next to the Flight Master, you have a guy that gives you a quest to meet Miguel, who then gives you a follow-up quest to get these spirits. And then you also get this like a crafted need. If you do those quests and that quest line, you will basically unlock weekly profession quests that give you some profession knowledge, etc. But that's not really the purpose of this video, to go in depth into professions. But that's just to say you would want to do those quests if you're thinking about using any of the professions. The other bit is just world quests, and world quests are quite different. So you can see here, this one has time left, 4 days and 1 hour. So they basically operate on a much larger time scale. And again, just like in previous expansions, the quest rewards, they kind of scale with your current item level. So if you do M0s first, you'll be like 350 or 360 after doing a tour, which means these world quest items are higher. But again, if you just want to do them to basically get into heroics quickly, you could do them to fill out your slots. But one thing that I really wanted to mention is war mode, because war mode is actually super rewarding in this expansion. So in my leveling videos, I've always talked about playing with war mode, even if you're Alliance, just because the bonus is way too big. So really, unless you get ganked 24/7, it's always going to be worth it. However, you might want to gank other people to get these bloody coins, bloody tokens. These bloody tokens, they can be used to purchase eye level 366 gear. So that's higher than heroic dungeon item level gear, which is 359. You get these bloody tokens from killing people in the open world, looting the supply chests. I looted one supply chest on this run and I got 197 tokens, which is almost enough to get a piece of 366 gear. So if you get a couple of these supply chests, it's super useful. And in addition to that, you have these weekly quests as well. Like they don't show up because you need to be level 70 to get them. And like this one also has an additional quest. Now, one of the key things to mention, and I'll show that in a video later after like I level this to 70 to show you the max level quest, is you have, because we have 20% war mode on live, as Alliance in EU, you'll have 20% on the expansion launch as well, which launches Monday night. Now, the key thing is, if war mode is higher than 20%, you get these overwhelming power quests. This gives a huge chunk of bloody tokens. As far as I can remember, it was like 250 or even 500. So I'll just check that once I'm level 70, because on the beta we also have enough war mode as Alliance. But so, doing that overwhelming power quest can really give you very quickly 366 gear, a couple of items just to get started. So I would definitely advise people to do that. There are also these weekly Spark of Life quests. Now, supposedly they are not available on the first week, but you can use those to get these items, Trophy of Strife. And those trophies you can use to upgrade your war mode gear to 385. Now, 385 gear is basically higher than Raid Finder, which is 372. So if you could get like a full set of this, for example, it could be pretty damn nice for when the raid opens. Now, I think the Strife is kind of time-gated by those weekly quests, and it's currently unclear how many you get. I think you get 4 per weekly, and I think there's 1 or 2 weeklies. But we'll see that when the game actually launches. But definitely don't negate war mode, because it could actually be a very valuable source of gear for you. The next thing to mention is just honor gear. I actually wouldn't advise you to go on PvP. But the reason why I want to mention this, like it's bugged and it doesn't show the gear, but it used to have gear that was eye level 340, but the key thing is, Blizzard often just forgets to reset your honor, and has happened in multiple prior expansions. So if honor doesn't reset, just go here, buy 340 gear before they change it, basically. Next you have Primal Invasions. They haven't actually shown up in the beta for a while, so I'm not entirely sure if we'll have access to those or if it's meant to be like a catch-up thing. But here in this building, in Valdrakken, the main city, you have these primal researchers that sell you 359 gear that you can also upgrade to 385. And you can see they also have like set bonuses and stuff. They're similar to Preach Patch events, like they'll just show on your map with like an elemental sigil showing there's an invasion there. You just kill mobs, they give you this elemental overflow currency that you can use for 359 gear, so heroic dungeon gear. And then you can upgrade that gear with these sigils, Storm Sigil, and you can do that by turning in primal core contributions. Now it looks like you can turn in each primal core once. So what you would want to do in a week is each invasion once, turn them in for these sigils. If you want this gear, right? I mean, personally, I would say the gear you get before the first week matters very little because Mythic Plus will be open in the first week. So really you just want to spam Mythic Plus in those first few days to get gear. And if you're like 360 or 370, like it won't matter that much because your Mythic Plus gear is gonna replace everything so quickly. But still, this is something you could do to like make things more efficient from the get-go, right? Now, the only other thing that I want to mention is here in this house opposite, you can find weekly quests for dungeons. And they give you also some rep and rewards. Again, I'll show them on the top right, but I need to be level 70 to get those particular quests. The final thing is you have this Aiding the Accord quest that you get from Terrazal right here. But again, they've kind of said this won't be available in the first week until after reset. So again, on Tuesday for US, Wednesday for EU, you can get this. Once you reach 4000 rep, you can get this treasures chest, some rep. And in this treasure chest, you have an epic piece of gear and a Primal Chaos. Primal Chaos is used for crafting, which will be handy to get. So you really want to do this on a weekly and on your alts as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But the key thing to say is that this treasure chest, it scales with your level of gear. Now, I don't know how much it scales because I haven't geared up on the beta, but I have gotten a higher item level when I was like 330 compared to when I was 310. Now, it might be the case that it stops at like 350, I don't know. But there's no reason to turn this in quickly. So I would do my weekly stuff to get all the gear. And then when I'm finished with them zeros, I would turn this in to hopefully get another high quality gear piece. Now the reason why I mentioned alts is that once you've leveled one character through the story, your next character, you just take the boat or the zeppelin, you fly here and you can pick up this Aiding the Accord quest. And you can get this rep while leveling. Now the key thing to mention is you can turn this in before level 70. So if you just have a lot of alts that you want to get going for professions, you can just get these quests, complete them on like 3 characters. You don't have to level all of them to max. You just do this weekly rep grind using the quests to get those primal chaoses that you'll use for professions later on. So that can be quite resourceful if you want to like level multiple alts at the same time for your profession army, basically. Anyway, I hope this was helpful and see you on the Dragon Isles.